Hello, everyone. I'm Chris Mike, and I will be your host. I broke up with my then boyfriend 3 months ago because I thought he had stolen $846 from me. I just found the money. I can't say this on my main account, and I need to write this out, but oh my God, I effed up. I effed up badly. I just found the money. It was in the chest of drawers I put it in, but the drawer I put it in had a small opening in the back. I didn't know it was there, and the envelope of money fell down there. I would never have discovered it, but the drawers broke. So I was taking the chest apart, and there was the envelope. It's the same envelope because it has my handwriting on it and the receipt from the bank. I have to apologize, but this is going to be so bad. I told my friends and family about this, about how I suspected that he had stolen from me since he was the only one in my house that day. No one else had a key, and I haven't left that room or my house with the money. God, he lost mutual friends because of me. I ended a 2-year relationship over this. I just didn't believe him when he said he didn't take it. I heard him for no reason, and then I blocked him. An apology won't be enough. I'm going to contact him tomorrow, and then I'll tell everyone else. Wow, I effed up. Yeah, dude, you really, and I mean really effed up. You destroyed your relationship, destroyed his relationships, and destroyed his trust without any evidence. You seriously effed up. The only option is to defend him as loud as you slandered him. Good luck with that. Boss tried to sleep with my fiancée. This was several years ago, so my boss, an extreme type A personality, found out I was seeing a young lady at another one of our offices. It was a long-distance relationship. He was the type he liked to control everything and mess with people for fun. He was also married to another employee, but he was very unfaithful, and he had a hobby, photography. He would like to take pics of himself and his conquest, in the act. Then he would show the pics around the production floor and brag about it. Well, on his next trip to this other office, he tried to get my girlfriend to sleep with him, but she spurned him. He made up some lies and got her fired. It took a long time, but I was patient. I knew he kept the photos in his office. He could not risk keeping them at home, where his wife might stumble upon them. One Saturday, I was working overtime, and the cleaning lady came through. They unlocked his office. I came in acting like I was taking dimensions on some drawings. The lady just asked me to close the door when I was finished. She left and went down toward accounting. That's when I went through his desk. Sure enough, in the back of one drawer, I found a stack of photos 4 tall. I took them all. Then I waited until he went on another trip. When he did, I went out for lunch. I had a dozen pics of him in the act with 4 different women, all showing his face. The women all had dark or red hair. His wife is a blonde. I drove to the town he lived in, to the closest post office to his house, and mailed the pics to his wife with no return address. She divorced him, and her lawyer took him to the cleaners. My girlfriend is now my wife, and we aren't mad anymore. This maybe sounds a bit fake, but I don't know, maybe not. Anyway, the boss got what he deserved. Don't do that, people. Be nice. Boyfriend couldn't stop liking half-naked pictures of other women. So I posted one of myself. All right, my boyfriend has started following a lot of Instagram women. Not regular ones, I don't mind those, but particularly the ones in lingerie, and with their butt out. Even was watching their OF. I told him it made me uncomfortable and to stop, but his response was, "It's just Instagram." You're doing too much. It's not that serious, and he kept doing it. Well, I posted some pictures of me in a G-string bikini. Butt out and all, he saw it and started freaking out, slamming doors and yelling. He was like, You don't respect yourself. That's embarrassing. I don't want my girlfriend doing that, bro. That's weird. And he is mad, like really mad. He told me to take it down, and I said, "No, isn't this what you like to see?" And his response again was, "You're in a relationship? Why would you do that?" And I said, "I'm only posting what you like." After I said that, he started ignoring me. It's been hours, and honestly, I don't care. I don't feel bad at all. For months, I was uncomfortable and asked him to stop, and he couldn't, so yay. Now he's a victim of a crime he participates in. You go, girl, F that dude, and not in the way he would like, if you know what I mean. He doesn't deserve you. Go get you a real man, not a boy who likes to play games. What do you think about this story, my dudes and dudettes? I exposed an affair because it was affecting my sleep. Even from the title, I totally agree. Sleep is important. My upstairs neighbor has been having an affair with a married man for about 4 months now. I wouldn't care, but Because it's an affair, he comes over at odd hours of the night and they have play dates, if you know what I mean. Very loudly. I can hear a lot. And it wakes me up, prevents me from sleeping. How do I know it's an affair? He's never spent the night and his car has baby car seats in there. This dude is a grade A piece of garbage. You have a baby at home and disturb this man's sleep? Not cool, man. Not cool at all. Some backstory: I've had issues with my upstairs neighbor prior to this. She would throw parties on Monday nights. She gets home at 2 a.m. from work, pacing her condo, and having loud phone conversations. She's 40 years old, throwing parties with 20 years old, and having affairs, and living like a teenager. I tried to talk to her like a normal person about my concerns, but she doesn't care, and I've had to get the association involved to stop the parties. I hate her. So I decided to learn some more about this mystery man. I looked up the license plate, found an address, searched the address, and found a name. Took the name and did some social media stalking, and found the man and his wife's profiles. I made a throwaway account, messaged the wife about the affair. I haven't seen him now for a few weeks, and I'm sleeping really nicely. Good on you, bro. You deserve a good night's sleep. And as for your neighbor and her man, you got what you deserved. Next time, be quiet and don't cheat, maybe. It's not that hard. Today, I effed up by punishing the sandwich thief with super spicy Carolina Reaper sauce. In a shared hangar with several workshops, my friends and I rented a small space for our knife-making enterprise. For a year, our shared kitchen and fridge functioned harmoniously, with everyone respecting one another's food. However, an anonymous individual began stealing my sandwiches, consuming half of each one, leaving bite marks, as if to taunt me. Initially, I assumed it was a one-off incident, but when it occurred again, I was determined to act. I prepared sandwiches with an extremely spicy Carolina Reaper sauce, a teaspoon in each, leaving a note warning about the consequences of stealing someone else's food, and went out for lunch. Upon my return, chaos reigned. The atmosphere was one of panic, and a woman's scream cut through the commotion, accompanied by a child's cry. The culprit turned out to be our cleaner's 9-year-old son, who she had been bringing to work during his school's disinfection week. He had made a habit of pilfering from the fridge, bypassing the healthy lunches his mother had prepared in favor of my sandwiches. The child was in distress, suffering from the intense spiciness of the sauce. In my defense, I explained that the sandwiches were mine, and I'd spiked them with hot sauce. The cleaner, initially relieved by my explanation, suddenly became furious, accusing me of trying to harm her child. This resulted in an escalated situation, with the cleaner reporting the incident to our landlord and threatening police intervention. The incident strained relations within the other workshops, siding with the cleaner due to her status as a mother. Consequently, our landlord has given us a month to relocate, adding to our financial struggles. My friends, too, are upset with me. I maintain my innocence, arguing that I had no idea a child was the food thief, and I would never intentionally harm a child. Nevertheless, it seems I am held responsible, accused of creating a huge problem from a seemingly trivial situation. The child is okay. No harm to the health was inflicted. It still was just an edible sauce, just very, very spicy. Damn, dude. This is really funny and sad at the same time for both you and the kid. Let's hope you find a new place for your business and the kid learned a spicy lesson that day. I left the job and then I changed everyone's passwords. I don't even care that this was immature and petty of me. I can't stress how awfully I was treated in this job and how the entire team joined in on it. I was the only woman on the team, so it could have been that. But I don't want to play the gender card. You're probably thinking it's not one-sided, but it was. I was never rude to these guys. I'm not too fond of confrontation, so I used to be a doormat. I was afraid to rock the boat, so I just accepted how I was treated because I needed a job desperately at the time. One evening, I decided it was the last straw. I went home for the night and never went back. I got various calls from them all on WhatsApp asking why I hadn't shown up, and I ignored it. Like I said, I can't handle conflict very well, so I couldn't face talking on the phone to them because I was already very upset from the evening before. A week after I quit my job, I realized I was still logged into my manager's account, and he hadn't changed the password. This account was basically the restaurant's entire database. It had information for menus, staff, ordering, stock, etc. I decided to change the email to a fake one I'd made, and then I changed everyone's password so they couldn't access it. I don't know what happened after that. Nobody ever contacted me. I don't know whether I was the suspect or not. I don't go to that part of town anymore. That was mean and evil-spirited, and they deserved 100% what happened to them. Don't treat your employees like that, people. Everyone just wants to do their job in peace and go home and relax. Am I the a-hole for jumping out of the way when my niece and nephew tried to push me into a pool, resulting in them falling in? Happened today. My folks decided to host a barbecue because I guess that's what older people do. I declined because I really don't like my two sisters, their husbands, or their kids. Wife and I are child-free. Mom then pressured the wife. Long story short, we went. By the time we arrived, there were about 20 people there. My sisters and their husbands were already solidly buzzed. Drunk, really. My mom was spending 100% of her time trying to keep the nieces and nephews, ages 7 to 11, more or less under control. My dad had strategically retreated to the whirlpool part of the pool with small cooler full of beers. Wife and I made small talk with miscellaneous people, ate food, and had a frozen margarita. Sisters and brothers-in-law took turns criticizing us for being late, not being in our swimsuits and screwing up the vibe. Whatever. Typical suburban summer get-together. About 45 minutes in, two of the kids ran at one of the neighbor guests who was standing next to the pool and pushed her in. She was at the pool steps, stumbled in but didn't fall, so only got half wet. She was clearly very unhappy about it, but she didn't make a scene. Just went over to where the parents were, grabbed their towels, dried herself off, and left. Sisters and brothers-in-law thought it was all great fun. A bit later, I was standing a few feet away from the pool, chatting away with someone. I saw three of the kids running full tilt at me from the corner of my eye. Obviously, I was next. Not that it's terribly difficult to outwit young kids, but I just jumped out of their way at the last second. All three of them ran straight into the pool at full speed. Most of the other guests, including my wife and me, started laughing, but their moms, who, as I mentioned, were pretty drunk, absolutely freaked out. Apparently, two of the kids couldn't swim, even though they were in swimsuits. Since I wasn't in swim gear, I stepped back from the pool and let other people fish the kids out. The kids were bawling their heads off like they'd lost a limb. At that point, all hell broke loose. The four drunk parents were yelling at everyone in general, and me in particular for nearly letting their kids drown. And also because two of the kids had been videoing the trick using their parents' iPhones, which were now at the bottom of the pool. One of my brothers-in-law got into the pool to try to retrieve the phones, but his BMI and BAC made that impossible. No one else volunteered to help. Unsurprising, given that my sisters were still bitching at everyone. I told my sisters it was their job to watch their kids, and that if anything had happened to them, it would have been their responsibility, not mine. There were some pretty strong words on both sides. Wife and I left after the other brother-in-law fell over and face planted while yelling at us. Now they're saying I should have let the little kids knock me into the pool and have their fun, and ruin my phone. So, am I the a-hole? Absolutely not, my dude. The a-holes are your sisters, brothers-in-law, and their kids. What an effed up situation and family you got there. We were sorry for you, brusky. This dude came back 1 month later with an update. Let's see what is it about. First off, my folks tell me that my nieces and nephews are all good swimmers, and that they use the pool all the time. The 7-year-old is still a beginner, but he loves the water. My sister just said they couldn't swim, so I'd look bad. To be fair, none of the kids are allowed in the deep end, which is where they fell in. It was the two 10-year-olds and the 9-year-old who tried to push me into the pool. After we left, the party ended on a pretty sour note. My drunk brother-in-law, who face planted while yelling at me, had to go to an urgent care place and get his face stitched up. He was too toasted to drive, so Dad took him. Dad was very not happy about this. Late that evening, my sisters started a group text and said some really nasty crap. Their husbands threw in a few comments as well. Wife and I blocked the four of them. My mom called me. She was pretty upset about what they said. She and Dad were in the chat, and I don't blame her. Because of the text, my folks insisted my sisters and brothers-in-law come over the next day, Sunday, without their kids to get some things straight and lay down some ground rules. Mom's wording. The result was a contrite, if unenthusiastic, apology from the siblings via my mom's phone. I'm glad my wife was with me when they called. Her hard stares kept me from saying what I wanted to. I just told them thanks and that we felt no need to discuss it further. Since I thought things were settled, I unblocked them. That evening, I got a text from one of the brothers-in-law telling me the phones cost X amounts of money and asking when I'd be paying for them. WTF? I replied, never. Took a screenshot of his text and forwarded it to my folks with a note that we were done with this nonsense. We're going no contact with sisters, spouses, and not to invite us to any more holidays or get-togethers if they'll be present. Then I blocked the sisters and their spouses again. At that point, the outhouse has collided with the windmill. Dad called them and ripped them a new one. Among other things, he told them the grandkids were not welcome at his place indefinitely. Since my mom regularly provides free babysitting, that got them pretty rattled. He also banned them from using the vacation house and told them my wife and I actually own it, not he and mom. This completely freaked them out. Both of my sisters' Lash families use the place a lot, including having their friends up for weekend getaways. This was very much out of character for my folks. They'd clearly had it. And for reference, I never wanted my sisters to know we owned the place. We bought it for my folks. They'd always wanted a place in the mountains. Keeping the ownership quiet was just a way to avoid drama with my siblings. A couple of days later, my sisters and their husbands came to our place unannounced to apologize in person. We were out to dinner and they left a note. One sister also called me at work too. I sent her a voicemail. We've decided being no contact is the best thing for the indefinite future and haven't interacted with them for the last 3+ weeks. Personally, I'm done. They can go pound sand. Man, these sisters are nuts. But this isn't all. The dude came back with another update after just 9 days. I'm sure this would be entertaining for him if it wasn't just sad and infuriating. Well, it's been an interesting last few days. I thought the crap had hit the fan before, but it was more of a fart compared to what's happened this week. For this to make sense, I need to provide some financial context. My folks haven't ever been any good at saving money. I've been doing their taxes for years, so I know pretty much everything about them, money-wise. Their house is paid for and they have minimal debt, but they didn't save much for retirement. Both of them get Social Security, Dad gets a solid pension, and they have a bit of savings. But there's no treasure chest in the basement. I bought their current car for them after they retired. A retirement present so they could have something nice to drive. It was the first car in probably 20 years they didn't lease. My sisters are convinced the folks are dripping with money and that our parents will be leaving the two of them everything, since I don't need more money. So they've never cared about saving either. Turns out my oldest sister and her husband, they have 3 kids, have been living beyond their means for some time and are in financial straits. They've maxed out their credit cards and are behind on their car leases to the point that one is about to get repossessed. He'd bragged in the past about making X per year, but it turns out to be about half that. She confessed all this to Mom on Tuesday because they need a loan, and because, and this was a WTF moment for Mom and Dad, that for the last 3 years, instead of staying at the vacation house regularly, she's actually been renting it out once a month or so, and pocketing the cash. We're talking $2,000 plus for a weekend, and at least $4,000 for a week. With her being cut off from using the place, she's had to cancel one group already. She's now worried they'll lose everything. My folks aren't in any position to give them a loan. My other sister was aware of her renting out the place, but of course hasn't ever said anything. I suspect she's done the same thing as well, because I went up there once to drop off an ATV I'd had worked on, and there was a family there who claimed to be staying there with my sister, her family, and that they'd gone to town for something. At the time I let it go, I figured she'd loaned out the house to some friends. But I've always wondered. I found all this out through my folks, who are pretty stressed out about it. Mom more than Dad. He's mainly just pissed off about it all. I know Dad feels betrayed, and I imagine he's embarrassed that he's in no position to help his daughter out. He did reiterate that as long as it's up to him, the girls won't be using the vacation home anytime soon. My folks let me know what's going on because they figured my sisters would put a full court press on me next. And they were right. On Thursday, My sisters came to our place again, without husbands this time, and waited outside the door until I got home. I had to choose between fighting with them in public, them making a scene if I went in without them, or letting them in. So I let them in. I got a bullshit story from the older sister with the younger one, backing her up regarding why I needed to let them use the mountain place again immediately. They also said I've been a shitty brother, and that I needed to step up and plan on paying for their kids' college tuitions, since that's what family does. I let them pitch their story and called them out based on what my folks had told me. Things went to crap from there. There was denial, crying, cursing, yelling, you name it. I swear my ears are still ringing 2 days later. Won't lie. I said some really mean and shitty things to them, but nothing that wasn't true. They finally left after about an hour. Man, WTF? These women are crazy. I feel so sorry for bro. Hope it gets resolved in some way or another. After that, I took a shower and laid down. When I got up, my wife was home, and her first words were that she'd had to block more phone numbers because my sisters were blowing up our phones from new ones. Folks messaged me yesterday asking me to call. I'm sure my sisters have told them some bullshit version of what happened, but I'm not up to rehashing it yet. I'm usually a pretty energetic person, but this drama has me beaten down. I had just enough energy today to drive up to the vacation house and padlock the entrance gate shut. I'm the only one with a key. I'm guessing that will be enough to ensure my siblings leave the place alone. They'd probably die trying to walk 400 yards uphill to get to the house. Damn, this has been a whole trip. Dumb kids, dumb sisters, and dumb brothers-in-law. This dude draw the short end regarding his family. I'm sorry for bro and his parents, but he needs to cut ties immediately with the sisters. Bye-bye. See you never. Am I the a-hole for giving future mother-in-law 3 days to pay me for a new wedding dress, or else I show the family a photo of her wearing it? So, I'm getting married to my fiancée soon. I bought my wedding dress weeks ago. My future mother-in-law kept pestering me about trying it on, but I firmly refused. I finally shut it down after she offered me $100 to let her try it on. Her reasoning for persisting so much? She says it's because of her love for wedding dresses and her obsession with them. Okay. Now the mother-in-law is weird straight from the start. What the heck, man? Fast forward to yesterday, I came home from work early and I found my fiancé at home. He freaked out after seeing me and tried to prevent me from going into my room while trying to text somebody on his phone. I opened the door and was shocked to see his mom standing there wearing my dress. I instantly pulled out my phone and took a photo of her in it. She and my fiancé freaked out after I told her that she needed to pay me for a new dress in 3 days, or else I'll show the whole family the photo. She started crying and then left, and my fiancé blew up at me saying I can't be serious and that I overreacted because his mom just wanted to try the dress on, no harm done. But I refused to listen to him because, in my opinion, the dress should only be worn by the bride and the bride only. Quite frankly, I felt disgusted looking at the dress again. I don't want it anymore. And so I think it's fair that she pays me after she ruined it for me. He yelled at me and told me to wake up and stop treating his mom like that as if she was an enemy. We had a fight after he failed to get me to back down, and he's been staying with his mom since then. Come on, woman. How can you do such a thing? I can't even imagine what's it like, buying a wedding dress and seeing not a random woman, but your future mother-in-law wearing it. I felt awful, but I spent $3K on this dress and worked hard to get it. I can't stand looking at it, but people in my family think I'm escalating things and risking my relationship with not only future mother-in-law, but my fiancé as well. Am I the a-hole? Hell no, the mother-in-law is the a-hole and her son. I don't know what to tell you. It's going to be weird if you marry into this family. Bunch of weirdos. Update. Oh my God. This blew up, and so I thought I'd add some updates. My fiancé called and offered to pay for the dress himself so we can end the conflict. But he wants me to. Hand him my phone so he can delete the photo himself. Swear that I don't have any copies to use against his mom later. Apologize to his mom. And lastly, he asked that I quit his family group chat and log out of Facebook for at least a month. I haven't responded yet. He called with his offer and conditions hours ago, but I didn't want to include this in the post, but now I did. Also, I'm not sure if I'll agree because I don't want him to pay for it. I want his mom, the one who wore it, to pay for it. Not being vicious, but trying to hold her accountable. Man, these people are a few clowns short of a circus. Hope you're not going to marry into this family and find someone who loves you, not a boy who lashes on his mama's wedding dress that is not actually hers. Am I the a-hole for telling my sister her son is only special to her? I have three older siblings. This is about my oldest sister, Abby. Abby has a son, 5, and I have a daughter, 1. Abby dealt with years of fertility issues and had probably 10 plus miscarriages. Then she had her son, and of course, he was Abby's miracle rainbow baby. We were so happy for her. But then it leads to Abby spoiling her son and letting him get away with everything because he's a miracle and he's special. Everyone has always bit their tongue when it comes to her son because of that. On Saturday, I had my daughter's first birthday party. It was mostly family, and a few of my close friends were invited. I invited Abby and her son because everyone else in our family was invited. So I felt bad excluding her. We had different activities for the kids to do. Abby's son didn't like any of them. He was upset none of the presents were for him. He didn't want to eat any of the food we had. He then decided to try and push the cake off the table because apparently he was mad the cake wasn't his. I got super upset at Abby for allowing her son to act that way. She went on to say her son is special. I said her son is only special to her, which is understandable. But to everyone else, he's a spoiled brat, which shouldn't be overlooked, because he was your special miracle baby. Abby called me a bitch and left crying. A few family members have since called me an a-hole because I've never dealt with a miscarriage, so I don't understand how painful it was for Abby to deal with years of that before her son. It's not that I don't realize her son is special to her, but it doesn't give the excuse for Abby to allow him to act like a spoiled brat. Nah, you're not the a-hole. The a-hole is Abby and her little brat. We understand that she had it hard, but that doesn't excuse the fact that she doesn't discipline the kid. Let's hope that the kid will grow up better. Am I the a-hole for laughing when my son came home from meeting his girlfriend's parents because he chose to behave like he does at home? My son burps a lot while eating. I have tried telling him multiple times that it is rude. I've told him to slow down so he doesn't swallow air with his food. I've told him that it is disgusting. My wife will instantly jump in to defend him. She will say that's just the way he is and that it's not his fault. The thing is, he can control himself when I remind him. He just chooses not to. He just went on a date with his girlfriend last night, and she tore him a new one. It was his first time meeting her parents since they live in another city. They went out to a fancy restaurant, and he burped all the way through supper. He came home almost in tears from her chewing him out for behaving like an idiot in front of her family. I heard him telling my wife about it, and I laughed. She asked what was so funny, and I reminded them both that I had tried dozens, if not hundreds of times, to teach him table manners. And he rejected them, and she protected him. I said that now he is a grown man, and he had to learn the hard way. They both think she overreacted, and that I'm the a-hole for being amused by his experience. Not the a-hole in my book. Kudos to his girlfriend who spoke up. You don't do that at the table. Good on you for laughing at him. We're also laughing. And too bad for your wife, man. She should take your part and help in educating the kid. You win some, you lose some. Am I the a-hole for checking my husband's dashcam footage on his car without his consent? I live with my husband and daughter. My daughter and I recently went on a short trip out of state, while my husband stayed as he had work and was supposed to look after our dog. On the last day of our trip, we got a call from my husband, who was acting distraught, and said that our dog Ellie had run away and that he could not find her. He claimed she just bolted away from him in the park, into some bushes, and he could not find her. Our dog is quite small, a mini poodle mix, and almost 13 years old. She is still active, but it is really unlike her to run away from us. And I was suspicious, but chose to believe my husband and me and my daughter were in grief, but did not want to blame him. When we came back home, he seemed surprisingly okay, unlike us. Ever since the pandemic, my husband started working from home, and he has always been annoyed at how much attention we gave Ellie, and hated how Ellie begged to sit on our laps and his while he worked. I really hope this isn't going where I think it's going. A few days later, we got a call from an animal rescue in a neighboring state quite far from us, that she had been found. I picked the phone and it was on our landline, which we almost never use these days, but was the contact on the microchip. I told my husband and he just said, "That is great, I am so happy," but it felt kind of blunt and insincere. I said it is strange that she got so far, and he responded that someone must have stolen her and then abandoned her. This made little sense to me as to why that would happen. When he was out drinking with his buddies, I copied the videos from his dash cam for the days I was away and saw that he had indeed taken Ellie far out of state and clearly dropped her in front of his car, thrown a frisbee-like object into a field, yelled fetch, and drove off without her. I was livid and confronted him, and he just stupidly muttered how he dropped her there so she could find a farm and have a better life. Then the next day got really angry at me for viewing his dash cam and called me and my daughter a-holes. Firstly, not a-holes in my opinion. You were curious and wanted to know more, and clearly he was lying. Secondly, what's the daughter got to do with it? Why did he call her an a-hole? Dude's tripping. Yeah, man, the dude's an a-hole for throwing that little dog away like that. And to be jealous of a dog? Of a dog? Come on, man, do better. Am I the a-hole for abandoning my daughter on vacation? My wife and I have always dreamed of celebrating our 40th anniversary with a luxurious vacation. Just the two of us, reliving the romance of our early years. We had it all planned out for years now, and we're excited beyond words. Enter our adult daughter, Jane. Jane and her husband got wind of our plans and promptly invited themselves and their 2 children along. I originally put my foot down and told them this trip was just for us, which upset her some. But my wife has a hard time saying no to Jane, as she is the youngest of our children and our only daughter, and she didn't want to hurt her feelings, so she reluctantly agreed to let them join. I wasn't thrilled about it at the time, but I wanted to make my family happy, and I knew my wife was also okay with the idea of a family trip. Even if she was heartbroken, we wouldn't get our romantic trip. We went along with it. The place we were originally going was not child-friendly, so we changed course and decided on an all-inclusive family-friendly resort. We paid for the resort and our grandchildren's plane tickets. Jane and her husband only had to pay for their own airfare. Here's where things get complicated. As the vacation got closer, I started having a change of heart. I realized that our 40th anniversary was a once-in-a-lifetime milestone, and I wanted to honor it in a way that was true to our original plans. My wife and I might not be able to afford a trip like this again for quite some time, and it's something we always wanted to do. So, without consulting anyone, I switched our tickets last minute to go to the romantic destination that my wife and I had originally planned for. I did not tell Jane or her husband. I didn't even tell my wife until the day before our flight left, which was the day before Jane's flight left for their vacation. It wasn't an easy decision, and I feel guilty about it. But I wanted our 40th anniversary to be the special, intimate celebration we had always hoped for. We called Jane after we landed to tell her, and she was extremely upset to say the least. She seemed of the idea that we were going to look after our grandkids, so she and her husband could have alone time. And now that I abandoned her, they would have to do it all themselves. I hung up on them when my son-in-law started shouting, and my wife and I enjoyed the rest of our trip. Good on you, bro. Your daughter wanted a free vacation and free babysitters. Entitled brat. That's what the doctor says. They came back the same day we did, but have not answered any of our texts. And Jane seems to be ignoring me. My wife told me she vastly preferred our trip to the family trip we would have taken, but she still doesn't like how Jane is mad at us and wants me to apologize. I'm not sure I want to, after learning Jane and her husband were using us for free babysitting and a free trip, but I feel like I should just to keep the peace. Am I the a-hole for changing our trip destination last minute and leaving Jane and her family to fend for themselves? Nah, man, you're not the a-hole here. The only a-holes I see are Jane and her husband. Good on you for having fun with your wife. Let's just hope that one day Jane realizes that she was wrong and she apologizes to you. Hope you enjoyed the show. Don't forget to like this video, share it with your friends, and subscribe to the channel. See you in the next one. Hasta la vista, baby.